Kansas State was 5 for 5 on 4th down, so Oklahoma has to find a way to get off the field. 7 for 14 on 3rd down, so, I mean, that's not particularly good either. So, yeah, I think, Eric, that's the big problem that I had, just their inability to get off the field on 3rd and 4th down was a big problem in this game, and giving up those 31 points. Let's see here. Let me get to some more of your comments. Yeah, DTY and Stutzman back, both of those back next week would be um, will be critical, I think, to Oklahoma's ability because you know Texas is the best offensive team that they will have faced all year. Absolutely, no doubt about it. To this point, so far for Oklahoma. Yeah, there's no killer instinct, and I think the glaring problem here is, and I've said this a couple of times, is that the leadership is very much lacking on this team. Maybe even on the sidelines from a coaching perspective, but really, having that killer instinct. This is one thing that I harped on so much, CE this offseason, and then the fall practice is one of the big intangible things that's going to be a key for this team is their ability to have a killer instinct and put these teams away that they are much better than from a talent perspective. And we've seen it on two different occasions so far this year with Tulane and Kansas State. Kansas State's not a bad team. They're going to be a bowl. I mean, they're obviously going to be a bowl team. But I think the talent disparity is pretty key on both sides of the ball, for Oklahoma. So yeah, they have to have the ability, and it's not going to come this year, guys. It's just not. It's something. It's a cultural thing that's ingrained into your kids, and if it's not something that's going to happen just like that, just a snap of the finger, they're not going to have that killer instinct, or it's not going to be. And so that's part of it. The leadership, specifically on the offensive side of the ball, is lacking. I saw even some, I didn't really see a whole lot of people getting angry on the defensive side either. So I think, that leadership and killer instinct is key intangibles for Oklahoma. That's not really there today, or hasn't been there all year. Yeah, Ryan, I think that's a big story. It was a big story for me. So far today was Oklahoma's inability. I mentioned 7 for 14 on 3rd down conversions for Kansas State, 5 for 5. So total 12 out of 19 3rd and 4th down conversions. That needs to be more in the 30% range for Oklahoma to be successful on defense, to be, where that they need to be as well. Sheldon, yeah, Tyrese always gets penalized. I mean, the only thing, and it was borderline dirty play, like they mentioned on the broadcast. But the only silver lining that I'll give on that is at the very least they showed a little emotion. There was a Marquise Hayes. They talked about that on the one of the touchdown runs or maybe it was a pass where Tyrese. It was who was this? Oh no, Marquise Hayes when he made the block. A pancake block, and he showed some emotion. Kind of finishing the play. So I think that's something that you like to see, but you have to have it controlled and you have to have it done in the right way, without a doubt, Sheldon. BK, I'm okay with this win. I think there's two ways to think about the win. BK, you have the school of thought that just win, baby, win in advance, and then you have the other school of thought that you have to win. But at some point, if you keep playing mediocre, average football, it's going to eventually come up and bite you, and it hasn't yet. I mean, to this point in the year, but that the teams that Oklahoma is facing are starting to get better. We had mentioned after Nebraska, it would continue to get better, and they found ways to win. Um, they found ways to win these games. Speaking of finding a way to win, it looks like Stanford just upset Oregon 31-24 in overtime. So another top five team goes down. So, but yeah, no, I think and part of it you find a way to win, and part of it you have to get to a point where you're a little bit more impressive, or either that or you step up your game each and every week to a level that it wasn't at the previous week. So I think that's where Oklahoma's finding themselves at right now. Uh, Carvin Jackson, thanks for. I hope I got that right. Carvin or Carvin Jackson. Bottom line, Grinch is going to dial up some pressure against Texas because no, I agree. Pressure. Oklahoma will have to get pressure, and they'll have to contain Bijan Robinson. So it's a tough ask um, for Grinch and company for in 1 week to um, to step up as much as they need to need to be able to step up in one in 1 week, but they really are going to have to because like I said, the Bijan Robinson is the best. I think the best running back in the country, and he's one of the best players in the country. And as you mentioned, Casey Thompson is playing well at the quarterback position. I don't know how well he played. I watched a decent amount of that game, but he wasn't great, but he was good enough. 32-27 was the final. Texas was they only threw for 142 yards today. Um, Casey Thompson, 12 out of 22, 142, one touchdown, one interception. So, um, not great numbers, but Bijan Robinson had 216 yards on the ground. So yeah, they're going to have to do some things to mix it up and make sure that they get some pressure in his face and make him make some bad decisions. Rattler turned it on. Yeah, I think he did. I think he really did. There was some um, there was a couple of bad throws and the one bad decision, but other than that, he played pretty flawless. I'll agree with you. Defense is being called way too conservative for me. It's allowing the super long drives. Yeah, and I think that's a fair comment, Ryan. I think the problem was for Oklahoma offensively, they just didn't get enough possessions, at least especially in the first half. Only getting those three possessions really hurt because they were playing well offensively and did the entire game, um, but um, just just aren't able to dial up enough pressure. And I think I'm hopeful that you'll see that a little bit. Maybe, my school of thought has always been, and obviously I'm not a football coach. I said I do coach basketball, but I'm not a football coach at all. So Grinch has forgotten more about defense than I'll ever know. But my school of thought has been, if you're not covering well on the back end, you're not tackling well in the back end, you might as well dial up more pressure. So I would hope that we'll see that a little bit more, some more exotic blitzes, some twists, some games that they'll play up front as well to put some pressure on and then stop that running game as well. Um, I would say that Bray Walker, Robinson, Murray, Hayes, and Swinson should be um, your starting five on the offensive line. Well, you have to have a center, so I think you either have Conjul or Rame. If you're not comfortable with Rame, you got to have Conjul. I thought Rame played better today. I think this was his best game that he's played this year. So I was probably more concerned with the tackles than I was the middle of the interior of the line. So if you want to say Swinson is a guy, yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with Oklahoma throwing Swinson in there. Wouldn't have a problem with, um, the thing about Bray Walker that I've heard is he just has an inability to know what he's doing and learn the plays. I think that's the thing that I've kind of heard, in just in terms of why he's not getting more playing time. Why it's not he's not even getting an opportunity is more so about that his inability and just he's very is very heavy footed. He did he was a great player in high school, but I think he relied on his just brute strength to bully people, and his he's pretty slow. So I think that's one of the reasons why he hasn't played much either. But um, I don't think that we're going to see. We'll see some guys sub in, maybe a little bit more than we have in the past, but I don't. Um, I would be pretty surprised if we see a different starting five from an offensive lineman for offensive line perspective, especially in the Texas game. They're going to go with probably who they've went with the entire year. But if somebody starts playing bad, then they'll get some. They're not afraid to sub. Um, Definitely, absolutely, Jesse. Thanks for the comments.